nuts? You know, like, what diagnosis do I have? But I don't have a diagnosis. I feel so amazing that I have the opportunity to have learned from him. So let me tell you, how did this whole thing get started? So I was probably about, everybody okay? So I was about 22 years old, and I went to a wedding, and I had gone to a wedding with a boyfriend of mine that I was dating, and when I got to the wedding, I saw Shlomo. And he was just there was something about him, you know, like sometimes when you meet somebody and you just look at their eyes, and you say, wow, you know, this, I want to be with this person. So I went over and I said, you know, hi, I don't have any place to put my coat check for my coat. Do you mind holding it for me? Yeah, good move, right? Also, the other part is that he was actually dating my best friend, but I did not steal him from my best friend. She was already getting married to somebody else, and it was her wedding that we were meeting at. But she had never introduced me to him, because I think she probably knew that there was going to be this connection, because the connection happened immediately. So he took my coat check, and then I was maid of honor. I walked down the aisle. After I walked down the aisle, he came over to me with a rose and said, can I sit down and talk to you? So he was really cute. So I said, yeah, definitely, yeah, sure. But you're here with somebody. It's fine, it's okay. So you gotta know your priorities. So we went for a walk, and I stayed at the wedding very long, and the guy that I came to the wedding with said he needed to leave early. Do I mind? And I didn't mind at all. So he left early. It sounds horrible, but it really wasn't. It really wasn't. Because it was meant to be. You know, this was meant to be. And I went home with Shlomo. He asked me to marry him that night. He wasn't what I was looking for, because my parents were Holocaust survivors, like we talked about last time. They wanted somebody who's a doctor or a lawyer, and he was not. He was a businessman. He was 22 years old, and he was selling furniture, but he was doing very well selling. He was commissioned out to sell office furniture. So it wasn't just like selling a chair, it was selling the whole furniture design for an office. And he was doing well. So that night went well, except that my parents said, you're not going out with him. But then sure enough, the next morning I walked out my door, and there he was. And he said, hi. I said, wow, what are you doing here? He said, well, I was just in the neighborhood. I said, but you don't even live in my neighborhood. But that worked out well. So he drove me to Brooklyn College. I was at Brooklyn College then. And dropped me off there, and said bye. There was like this thing going on already. It was nice, but nothing, nothing going on, just going on. There's a difference between going on and going on. And then I went into my class, and sure enough, I came out of classes, and he was there. So I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Well, I just happened to be around Brooklyn College." I said, "But you don't go to Brooklyn College." So that was it. So then, do you need a ride? I said, "Sure, no problem." And we ended up staying out late, and I called my mother. Because in those days you didn't have cell phones. It's a lot of years ago. I called my mother, but mothers were the same as mothers are now. You know, where are you? I said, I'm with the guy that I met at the wedding last night. We told you we're not interested in him. I said, I just want to ride with him. It's not a big deal. I'm coming home. Soon. When? Soon. So that was it. And then again, the next night we went out. And my parents realized that this was going, you know. And at that point I already broke up with the guy. It was 3 days after I met Shlomo. And that was really how I met Shlomo Zakheim. The interesting thing was that we were not from similar backgrounds at all. I came from a more traditional background, and he came from a rabbinic background. His father was a rabbi. So for me, that was something that I became more accustomed to. But I was very, very in love with him, and I just liked him. So at that time already, the kindness was there then from the beginning. A, he was an auxiliary policeman. B, he was already an EMT. Then everybody knows the organization named Hatzalah. Yeah. He was one of the 4 people that started Hatzalah. He got Hatzalah their first radios. He was that kind of a guy. He liked to do good things. And he always said, no matter how many good things I do, no matter how much time I spend doing good things, more good things happen to me. He really believed in the energy of the world. Like I do good, but Faye, I'm telling you, more good is happening to us. And then somebody approached him and they said, do you want to buy an ambulance company? And he was in the furniture business, doing well. And Shlomo said, what does that mean? Buy an ambulance company? I'm just a kid. At that point, he was 26. He said, what do you mean, buy an ambulance company? So the guy said, well, I have an ambulance if you want to buy it. He said, can I see it? He looked at the ambulance. It was like really really a 3-wheeled ambulance. There was no 4th wheel in the ambulance, but he was so excited about it. They said, yeah, I want it. So he took the ambulance, he fixed it up, and sure enough, from one ambulance, he went, this is the amazing part of his life. He went from 1 ambulance to 2 ambulances to 4 ambulances, and by the time he was successful, he owned all of the ambulance companies in New York City. So now he wasn't the kind of guy, it's like what you heard in the movie, he wasn't the kind of guy that walked around saying, okay, I'm going to get a Ferrari and have a good time with a Ferrari. He would say, I'm going to get a Ferrari, but I'm going to use it for sick little kids and take them on rides in the Ferrari. He would say, I'm going to get myself a yacht, but I'm going to use it to take cancer kids on trips on the yacht. I'm going to get a jet, and I'm going to fly people around that are sick that need to go to very special doctors. And that was what his life was all about. He was a pilot. He had his own plane. He had his own propeller plane that we used to fly around in, and he also had jets. The propeller plane, he was a fun guy, even though like he was a very serious guy, and everything was about life and death. He was just a lot of fun. So like we used to fly around in his little plane. So in the little plane, he'd be in the pilot seat and I'd be on the passenger seat. You guys don't know this story. These are my Friday night family that you're going to meet in a few minutes. And then you'll understand what it means to start coming on Friday night. And what he would do is he'd be sitting in the pilot seat and he'd say, Faye, you're sitting in the window seat. So just look down and see where you see a straight white line, because that means that's where we're landing. That was like a little bit scary. So we would land in people's garages. We had like fun, crazy kind. He was just a lot of fun. And then he built this hospital for Camp Simcha, and that was what you heard in the movie, that he built the hospital for Camp Simcha, but what most people do when they have money is they build a building, and what do? They name the building, the Zakheim building. But that wasn't something he would do. What he did is he built the building, and then he told Camp Simcha, sell the building for somebody who wants their name on the building. And in that way, they got a building, and they got a name on the building for the people who paid for the building right. That was the way, and also he wasn't about only taking care of Orthodox Jews. That wasn't what he was about. He went to Haiti, and that Haiti is not, forget about Orthodox Jews, they weren't even Jewish people. He went to Cuba. He did things, it didn't matter whether somebody was an Orthodox Jew, whether somebody was an unaffiliated Jew. It didn't matter if they weren't Jewish at all. He was just about doing kindness. So one of my favorite stories, there's 2 stories that really tell you about Shlomo. So you want to hear them both? Yeah. Yes. One of them is a really interesting story because it talks about how it wasn't about the honor. Like a lot of times people do kindness. Why? Because they want other people to say, wow, great person. He gave $1 million. Wow, great person. So there was a little girl, her name was Bashi. She was born without a stomach. And she was always on feeding tubes, on breathing tubes. She was in a wheelchair. This kid couldn't do anything. Nothing about her worked, nothing. And she was born into a family of 11 children in Montreal. The parents couldn't take care of her anymore. They sent her to Camp Simcha, and they told Camp Simcha, we're sending our girl to Camp Simcha. Do not send her home. Find a foster family for her. We've done it for 11 years. We cannot do it anymore. Can you imagine? So here is this girl in Camp Simcha. She has no place to go home to. What does Shlomo do? He decides he's going to take care of this little girl, Bashi. But he doesn't decide he's just going to take care of her and take her home. He's going to make her well. And he finds every doctor in the world to find out how he can fix Bashi's stomach. Yeah? But in the meantime, Bashi needed a place to live. So he put ads into all the newspapers, willing to give a lot of funding for a family that will take in a child on G-tubes, on respirators, in a wheelchair, very sick. We will pay for all of the needs that this child has, but we need a home for her. And he's interviewing a lot of people, and since I'm the social worker, he would take me on the interview. So we found a family in Muncie, New York. Unbelievable. We walked in, I said, this is a perfect place for her. They were an interesting couple. The guy was like 4'2", the girl was like 5'11", but it was a good match. They had 4 other little children. They really needed the money. The house was beautiful, meticulous. They said yes, they want to do it. It was going to give them money. And until Shlomo would get Bashi better, she could stay in their house. So we make the deal. We're going to leave Bashi there. We're going to leave Bashi there. And unbelievable. As we're leaving, the little guy, says, by the way, you never told us who this girl is. You never told us her name. You're bringing us a girl, but you didn't tell us what her name is. We told them the name. This is unbelievable. It turned out it was his sister from Montreal, child. She did not tell her family that they were giving away this little girl. And they ended up taking in this little girl. Now you would think that's the end of the story, right? No, Shlomo was committed. He was going to make her better. He found a doctor. They fixed her stomach. They fixed the G-tube. They fixed everything about her. Bashi stayed in our house afterwards for about a month after her hospital stay, and she walked out a perfectly healthy little girl. Perfectly healthy. So now she gets returned not back to the foster parents, the uncle. Who's she going back to? The parents. They say, we want her back. She's healthy, right? But only under one condition. We'll take her back. What was the condition? We never want to hear from you, Shlomo. We don't want to remember that you were ever a part of our lives. We don't want to have any memory of this whole thing. Shlomo came home and told me they want her back, but they never want to hear from us again. You're okay with it? And we became very close to her. Are you okay with that, Faye? I said, are you okay with it? You did all this work, you paid all this money, you did all these operations, and they don't want to acknowledge you? They don't want to give you a dinner? They don't want to bring you to their house every single year and make a huge celebration? He said, no, isn't that great? And that was Shlomo Zakheim. It just wasn't about that. And now I'll tell you one more story. I actually bought the book of the second story, so I'll let you look at it. There was another little girl, her name was Nechama. Nechama was 15 years old. She was very, very, very sick. She had horrible, horrible cancer. So someone goes over to Nechama one day and he says to Nechama, you know, if you could have one last wish, what would it be? He had an organization that he called the Dream Team, which meant that he found little children that had cancer and he would give them their dream. One kid wanted to be Justin Bieber. Shlomo brought Justin Bieber to Memorial. Most of the kids had pretty realistic kind of dreams and he was able to accomplish them. This little girl, Nechama wasn't so little, she was 15. She said, I want to go to the Bahamas and I want to swim with the dolphins. Shlomo said, sure, no problem. Great. Called the doctor and he said to the doctor, can I take Nechama in our jet to fly her to the Bahamas? Has anybody been to the Bahamas where you've seen it though? Yeah. So usually they put you on a dolphin and then you go flying through the water. The doctor said, not a chance. She cannot leave. She's on oxygen every single second. If she's not near her chemo all the time, she will die. You can't take her. So Shlomo said, well, there's got to be a 2 days. All I need is 2 days to fly her there and let her do the dolphin thing. We'll get her back. 2 days. Doctor said, impossible. Okay, then, and he keeps calling. One day, the doctor calls, Dr. Wexler, and he says, Shlomo, you can take her. Shlomo says, great, she's better? Doctor said, no, the chemo's not working, nothing is working, Nechama is going to die. Take her. Let her do her dolphin thing, because there is nothing we can do anymore. She's not going to make it. Shlomo takes Nechama, takes her with nurses, doctors. The whole jet is full with people that will take care of Nechama. They fly her to the Bahamas. They stay in the Bahamas. Not only do they stay in the Bahamas, but they stay in the penthouse apartment in the Bahamas, Mariah Carey's penthouse in the Bahamas. And he's there with doctors, nurses, and she's going to scuba dive she's going to dolphin the next morning, right? They go down, they dolphin. We have pictures of Nechama on the dolphin with the oxygen tank attached to the dolphin, and she's giggling on her way. Amazing story. As they're leaving the Bahamas, now mind you, the people that he took, they're all wearing yarmulkes, Jewish, they're obviously Jewish. The people at the Atlantis in the Bahamas, from like this place that Mariah Carey's penthouse was, the people who worked there were so taken by this story of this girl that they saw, Nechama coming in, that as she was leaving, they lined up, the entire staff of the Bahamas, of the Atlantis, lined up in 2 rows. Row here, and row here, or let's do it this way. 1 row this way, and 1 row this way. And as they brought Nechama through, they all started applauding. And I brought the book, so I'll send it around for you to see. When they landed in New York, 2 hours later, Nechama passed away. Oh. But that was who Shlomo was. So that was the person that I learned about kindness. And then what happened? Shlomo responded, as you can imagine, to 9/11. When the towers came down, Shlomo was there for both buildings to come down. But he wasn't there alone. He was there with all of his ambulance companies, with all of his ambulances. That was what he did. For him, this was like, wow, I'm going, you know. So there he was down there for a very long time with his ambulances, and Shlomo developed leukemia a few years later. And the leukemia took over, and Shlomo, after 11 months of trying to fight the disease, although he was never did he say, why did God do this to me? He felt like that this was what was supposed to happen. And one day, while he was there, it was the first month of his being in the hospital, and we were in the hospital for those full 11 months. One day, in that first month when we were there, I said to Shlomo, this is so unfair. You're the one who does everything. I don't do any of this stuff. Why would God be taking you? Let him take you. I was the one that should have gone. And Shlomo said, I've done my thing. It's your turn. I'm emotional. It's your turn now to do yours. And that is what has brought me here. That's why I'm here at RAJE. RAJE is my way of continuing on Shlomo's legacy. I'm not an EMT, I'm not a paramedic, but I'm a very nice person. I'm a person that likes to have people over on Friday nights, and I'm a person that likes to be very positive about life and very optimistic. So the parties on Friday nights, they are real parties. They're a lot of fun. So today's story is really for me to just tell you that I would love you to come on Friday nights. And there's one more thing, one more little message that I thought I would give you, because I like when you walk away with the story, but then you walk away with something afterwards that you say to yourself, wow, I have something. So I give you like a little mnemonic, and as I was driving here, I thought about it. And my mnemonic for you to take on for yourselves as you progress in your lives of being Jewish and in your lives of doing good deeds for others is I took the word deeds, good deeds, D-E-E-D-S, and I'm going to give it to you. And this is like my gift to you, and then I'm going to introduce you to my Friday night family that eventually you will become part of. All right, so for deeds. D, I think, is for drive. I think you need to have drive. You wake up in the morning, go, no matter what you're doing. Don't linger. It's about having a vision. It's about having something to wake up for. If I didn't have drive, I would be floundering now as a widow, without my king, without my guy. So it's about having drive. E is about excellence. When you have your drive, don't only just have a drive. Don't be mediocre. Do it in a way where you want to get to the point of doing things in a good way. It's not mediocre. We're Jews, we're about doing things in an excellent kind of way. The second E, I think I thought of was actually wrote it on the drive. The second E, I think as Jews, we're people of royalty. We're not like other people. We're above other people. Look at this room. You are really good Jews. So my second D is about elegance. So the first D is about drive. The first D is drive. Then we talk about doing things excellently. Then we talk about doing things and having elegance about yourself. And the third D is a word that we're all hearing these days, but I'm going to use it differently. It's the word diversity, right? We're all talking about diversity. That's all we talk about at university. But for me, for diversity, each of you is a diverse person. But there is something very special about each of you. In your diversity, in your differentness, you will each find something in your life that will be your passion, that will be your thing. And S I'm going to take from Shlomo. The S is going to be, when you do these good deeds, do them silently. Enjoy it. Enjoy your good deed. And that's my lesson for you for today. So D is for drive. E is for excellence. The second E is for elegance. The D afterwards is for diversity. Thank you. Diversity. And S is for beautiful. You guys are amazing. You are just amazing. All right. So now I would like to introduce you. These are part of my Friday night family. Irina, Sarah, Yana, and Yami. I want to introduce you to they're all amazing. but I'm going to introduce you to one family, one part of my Friday night family that said, we'll talk, and I'm going to bring them forward. So it is my proudest moment to introduce my children, Alex and Yelena. And my grandbaby, Ariella Rachel. Now, I know you think, as I'm saying this, that these are my children, right? Because everybody says that we look alike. They are my children. I'm probably closest, no, I'm as close. But they're not my children. I didn't give birth to them. But they are my children, as you can be also. So I'm handing over to you. I'm very proud.
So, one thing I've learned throughout 10 years of RAJE is that if you want an absolutely no-fail speech, bring a really cute prop. So, we record this game. It's not even ours. Actually, guys, can you take it away, please? But, you can never start a speech off wrong with, no, really. Yeah. She's really, really tired. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow. I think we have another baby there, no? Am I right?
No,
it's yours.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
That's our other prop.
Okay.
So again, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Sunday. My name is Alex. This is my wife, Elena. So we started out doing RAJE about 10 years ago, maybe even more than 10 years ago. And we were sitting in those exact seats. The place looked a little bit different. It was actually before, unfortunately, Sandy happened. But one benefit of Sandy is that they actually got to renovate it, get a big screen, so they can finally show movies and not just play something off the phone. Hopefully, everyone will be able to hear off iPhone 3. So we'll talk a little bit about our journey. Like I said, 10 years ago, we were in your spots. We were completely not observant, not really affiliated. For most people that would come here those days, 10 years ago, I know not like you guys are here, but 10 years ago, people would come here for the trip. So they would go through the classes, 10 weeks, do the 2 Shabbatons, do everything that was required, and the big event was obviously going on a trip. And we did all that. We went to classes, we went on the trip, and then by the time semester ended, we kind of felt a little gaping hole in our hearts, and we decided to sign up for the next semester. Back then, it used to be called Action. So there was like leadership, which was step 1, developing young Jewish leaders, getting a good foundation of Judaism, and then Action was step 2. So like now that you have that foundation, what are you actually going to do about it? And that went on for a good 2 years, and then at some point within those 2 years, we decided to take things a little bit more serious, so we moved in together. And ultimately we got married. Rabbi Reuben, who all of you I think at this point know, he was the one that he did our chuppah, and we moved into an apartment in the heart of the Jewish community of Midwood, on Ocean Avenue and Avenue M. Woo! At that point, 2 years of RAJE. All the amazing experiences, and really we felt like we were missing out. We felt like we were maybe like a little bit too older for RAJE to join some of the younger groups, but within our community we also didn't feel like we could just walk into a person's home, or we didn't really have a venue to go to for Shabbos. So Shabbos for us would actually be taking our car, driving to RAJE, enjoying the amazing Friday nights here, and then afterwards driving back or going to the city to party. Thank God that started to change a little bit when we were introduced to Dr. Faye. So you were introduced to Dr. Faye. I wasn't part of it. Okay, so I wasn't going to tell this part of the story.
That's the most important part. Alex used to come on Friday nights with nobody, just by himself. I thought he was a cute single guy. And he was having a very good time on the Friday night. I had no idea that he was married. And then sure enough, one week he showed up with this gorgeous blonde. Right.
Yeah. I was working as a nurse. A lot of times I had to work on Fridays, Saturdays. Wasn't really a choice. And I kept like wondering, where's he going on Fridays? Like, what is this? It's like, I'm going to Shabbat dinner. He's like, what do you mean? What is it? Where are you going? What is this
Good cover up, guys. I'm going to Shabbat.
So I was off for like that one weekend, which could get like a month. And I decided to join him. I'm like, let me go. I want to see what he's up to. And then I came to Dr. Faye's house, and I was like, this is what you do on Fridays? I'm like, I don't want to work on Fridays and Saturdays. I'm like, I'd rather come here. This is way more fun than going to work. So eventually, when I switched jobs, I told them I'm Shabbat observer, even though I technically wasn't. But I figured if we're gonna at least try, because we said we would do it like once a month, and like, or here or there. So I kind of lied to them, but it ended up we ended up going every week to Dr. Faye's house, and we made some other connections in the Flatbush area that were like really close to these families. They're practically like our families, like they call us like, I don't know, their children, and they're like Ariela's grandparents. They feel like grandparents, and I don't know, it's such an amazing experience. And one of my friends is like just became a mother also, and she made this like group on Facebook. And she's like, what is everyone's Friday night like now that you're parents, right? So a lot of people are like saying, well, no more partying, I get the baby to sleep. And I wrote, Shabbos, a nice dinner, relax, don't have to deal with the phone, don't have to deal with any of the stuff. And she's like, wow, like so much dedication. How do you get yourself to not have to like be like a prisoner to your phone? I was like, well, it was like a little by little. One time decided not to use the phone. It was a little hard, but eventually I realized it's like so much, you get such better sleep when you're not on your phone all the time, and you're like not up in like 2 o'clock in the morning playing like a game or researching something. You're just like, you don't use the phone, you literally can read a book and go to sleep. You have like no inhibitions. It's like the best rest ever. And like I honestly, I love it now. I look forward to it.
And certainly, like when we first started, going to Dr. Faye, we never actually realized that it was going to be something that would turn into a constant, right? Like it was certainly a wonderful experience, but we didn't think other people would open up their doors to us. Like we would go away to Shabbatons. Obviously, we realized that it was a planned program, but we didn't actually think that these people who have been determined all their lives would actually love having us over. And as my wife was saying, at this point, if anyone is into like creating websites, if someone could create a website for us, because there's like a waiting list of people who want to have us over for Shabbos. Literally, there are people fighting over us. They're saying, "What do you mean you're booked 3 weeks from now?"
Get on the waiting list.
Kislev is a pretty busy month, so it really, it's absolutely amazing the kind of outreach that happens, and RAJE is absolutely the best at it. Besides Dr. Faye, I think one Shabbaton for each group does happen in Flatbush, and if it hasn't happened for you yet, you will see how absolutely incredible people are, and how warm people are, and you wind up making some amazing friends, amazing connections, and you never know where it might lead you in your life. I mean, to say that 10 years ago, I would be sitting here and speaking in front of people and tell them that, oh, I'm Shabbos observant, I go to shul, I haven't missed a day of tefillah in like 3 years. That doesn't deserve a clap or anything, but I would think that whoever's sitting here, me 10 years ago, I would be completely out of my mind. But
You do like
I literally told her 10 years ago, I'm never doing that.
I also said it plenty of times.
Shabbat is a good idea, let's drive there and go out to a party afterwards. There's absolutely no way 10 years from now I'm going to be doing this. And now, thank God, like I built my week around it. Literally, like my wife was saying, I spoke to my employer. You'd be absolutely surprised how amazing and accommodating people are, especially when you're working for the city, because then there's this whole like discrimination thing. If they don't allow you to go early. But I literally on Fridays I work on my block. I get to leave before sunset time, and it's absolutely incredible where this journey has taken me. So I know usually we have our Friday night dinners, and people can't leave the house. Like it's midnight and it's like time to go to sleep. Like let's go. Today we actually brought Friday dinner here with us, the crowd for Friday dinner. So I think it's a good time for us to introduce the rest of the day.
5 years ago, when my grandmother got really, really sick. She was my biggest connection to Judaism. She would be the one rushing me to light my Shabbos candles and to turn on all the lights and not touch them. When she passed away, kind of a part of me kind of passed away with her, and I did not know where to look for that missing piece because she was no longer there. So there was an organization that started posting things about like lectures, and basically at the end of those lectures we had to do a Shabbaton in Flatbush. So one of the biggest connections that I had to Shabbat was going to shul. Now walking through those doors on Shabbat has been amazing. Just lighting candles and just like leaving the whole week behind and kind of starting a whole new you. You have like this extra energy, this extra soul that comes in you as soon as you light the candles. As soon as you go to shul and this music kind of takes over you and you close your eyes and you're like in a whole different world. It's an unbelievable feeling that after like that first Shabbat, like I didn't fully keep obviously, but I was like, okay, like what is this about? And then I was like, I want more of this, so I kept coming back on Fridays only. Then it started going through, like Saturday mornings, then, Havdalah. So I had an amazing opportunity to come to Dr. Faye's house almost 5 years ago, which is mind-blowing. And since then, I mean, my not religious friends, my non-Jewish friends, they always ask me like, why are you always rushing to like go back home and change? Like, you don't want to go out on Friday night? Like, there's like a concert Friday night, and let's go to a club on Friday night. And I'm like, that's cool, I could do that Saturday night. It's great. Good thing I have, choices. I live in New York City. But I think that, like, even last week, I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, like my life has changed so drastically from me, like it's amazing. I'm so excited for Friday nights and Saturdays, not having my phone near me, just connecting with people who are right in front of you, your family, your close friends. We are so distracted on everyday basis that we forget like what's really important. Like, who cares about what's going on, like, with cousins, nieces, neighbor, or like, it's you have to be here, you have to be in the present, and that's a gift. And we need to start appreciating that. So I feel like that turning off the phone gave me that appreciation. And I honestly would not trade it for the world. And one of the biggest reasons why I started keeping Shabbat completely was that I envisioned my life and my family having this in their home. And it's just a missed opportunity if not. So I think everybody has their own pace, and they have to learn on their own where they want to be and not bite off too much. And I think that way it's a recipe for something very amazing. So I hope that you guys take the opportunity and just step in when you can, when you want to, and just go with the flow.
Is that at this point, I don't even need to be there on Friday nights anymore. Because this week, Alex and Delana hosted the table. Irina organized the whole table. It's like, I'm there, who cares?
No, we want you there.
But listen to this. So this week on Friday night, we're all there, everything's good, it's already like probably 11 o'clock at night. We've been like just talking and doing, it's just a lot of people are coming and going, it's very nice. But we end up, this guy walks in, and I'm just so excited because I was blown away by him. His name is Zakheim. Zakheim is a rapper. And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to RAJE on Sunday, I called Rabbi Katzin. I said, Rabbi Katzin, I met this amazing guy. Can I bring him over? And Rabbi Katzin, of course, Rabbi Katzin, of course, anything you like. So I want to introduce somebody that I just met that I am so inspired by, and I want him to tell you his story. It's completely different than anything you've heard now. Are you interested?
Yeah.
Who I met Friday night. We walked to shul together on Friday night to Breslov, and then Friday night, Zakheim was at my table. So take it away, Zakheim. I know you don't. You've been answered on your own.
Well, first, it's obviously a big privilege to be here, so thank you for those that facilitated it. I don't know if many times in life I've felt more inadequate, having watched that, powerful, living, receipt of a person's life, and then to see, Dr. Faye and how it's like, it just keeps going and going and going. So to me, I was just sitting there like, there's nothing impressive at all about anything that's happened in life for me, juxtaposed to that. The beautiful thing is, life is much better if you don't do comparisons. So, comparisons aside, again, I'm grateful to be here, and I'd like to hopefully share in a couple different ways. I guess one, a bit, tied to my story, which I don't think is very impressive at all, but mostly because I'm living it. Two, something that I think ties to like this week's Parsha and how it like relates to everybody's life. And then maybe three, just my view or of Judaism in general. So I guess for me, I was born, gotta get this out of the way. I know everyone's wondering, I was born on Earth, so not as exciting as being born other places or something like that, but importantly, I was born here on planet Earth in Minnesota, like middle America, so not very exciting. One of two parents, and I was diagnosed with cancer at like 16 months old. Retinoblastoma, which I think they state statistically at that time, like 1 in 4 in the world. First of all, whoever knows if any statistics are accurate, but it sounds good, it makes people feel good. So 1 in 4, okay, whatever. And the doctor misdiagnosed it in any event, so one day my parents bring me to the doctor. He's like, good news, bad news, good news, we can save the kid's life, bad news, he's gonna lose his eye. With most people, I think in life, I always thought I've had it the worst of anyone ever in history. So I was the worst cancer person that's ever had it in life. Turned out that's not true at all. I never had chemo, never had radiation. By the grace of God, I had surgery. They removed my eye, and after that, I've been making noise and causing ruckus ever since, And so one thing that kind of stood out, at like 5 years old, we were at the doctor for a checkup, and the doctor's like explaining to me, like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, you gotta be careful of this. And one thing he says, like, I can't play football. So I'm like, I don't even know what football is. I'm gonna look it up, figure it out, whatever, see if this is accurate. So I look it up, I'm like, oh, I can for sure do this. So I ended up, like my life's mission. So I ended up playing football, having an okay, high school career, getting a scholarship for college, having a chance to play professionally after. And it's funny, it's like my 25th birthday or 26th birthday or something like that. I'm inside like an NFL stadium facility, and I'm like, I don't want to play anymore, which was like sort of an awkward moment. But I realized for me, like, okay, I've lived my whole life doing this just to prove this doctor wrong. Now I'm ready to do like what I want to do, like prove myself right. And so that's sort of, I guess, the sports side of things. I only share that because a friend of mine who was the reason why I was at her house, like, you gotta share this part of the story, and so whatever. Again, I don't think it's very, whatever at all. But I also grew up to parents that were born Christians. So, on my dad's side, my mom's side, a bunch of like reverends, doctors, evangelists, all this. So my mom also, one of the greatest educators in the world. We had TV coupons growing up. Anyone probably doesn't know what a coupon is, but it's like this little thing on paper that gives you a deal or a discount, So my mom gave us 2 30-minute TV coupons a week. So for an hour a week, I could watch TV. The rest of the time, we had vocab words, Encyclopedia Britannica reports, all these different things. So I did a lot of reading. So I read the Bible cover to cover by like 7, right? So I'm like this little like bookworm kid. I remember one day having a conversation with my father in a public setting, which was probably inappropriate. And I asked him a question that had nothing to do with what he was talking about. And his answer to me was malarkey. I didn't buy it. So, there's a concept in Judaism about his bodhidus, right? Like going and talking to Hashem for hours. And I think if you go talk to God for hours, of those, 120 minutes, you might have 17 seconds where you're actually talking to God. The rest of the time, you're talking to yourself or you're feeling good, but it's not succinct. But I think in those 17 seconds, you can change your whole life, So I had one of those small little moments talking to God. I said something to him. I said, when I get older, I'm going to learn how to read Hebrew. I'm going to be a superhero like Abraham and Moses. I didn't know what I was saying, but that was just my little succinct. And God, I'm sure, sign him up. Okay, he's in. And so years later, it kind of chart a very unique path of me, navigating my way closer and closer to the Torah, which may be encouraging to some here because I think, years later, I had a bad injury my senior year in college, and so I was back home. I couldn't go right to the NFL like I planned and all that, and so I'm like sitting at home, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time to go to seminary, which is like red flag. My whole life, my dad didn't want me to play football. Now I got a chance to make a few $1 million playing football. He's like, oh, you gotta stay focused. You gotta play ball, you know. I'm like, I think I'm going to seminary, you know. So he's like, are you kidding me? So I never forget. He's standing in the dining room like, don't do that. Just go get the money. And he left. And so I said to God again, I'm like, this is BS. And so I was posed a question, and I think this is a very important thing for anyone that's here. And the question I was posed, and if someone's saying they're talking to God, quick, going to get you put in an insane asylum. So no one has to take this as literal, but I was there, so I got to be honest with myself. So I posed a question, I was posed a question. The question I was posed was, are you looking for a routine, or are you looking for a relationship? Right? And my answer was, I'm looking for a relationship. You know, routine is what I've been doing. Why does that matter? Why? Well, that question and answer segment led me into what I believe is the only relationship with God that one can really have, which is being a Jew, as in your whole life, you're bound to this dynamic with the creator of the universe. No middleman, you don't got to talk to the assistant manager, you don't got to check with the billing lady, you can talk to the boss. How is this real? So if you think about it, because God can seem like this abstract thing. So just imagine you're married to someone. I'm not married, you know, because about to soon. But so I'm an instance theory. But say you're married and you wake up and say your wife's there, if your lady, your husband's there, they wake you up, you don't say good morning. Okay, that could be awkward. Then you go, they start the shower for you, everything like that, you go take a nice shower, you don't say nothing. Okay, you know, you go to the restroom, they got toilet paper, they got everything set up, you don't say nothing. You go downstairs, they're making breakfast, you sit down to eat, you don't say a word, you eat the food, you finish eating, you don't say a word, you get up, they bring you to work, you don't say a word, they bring you lunch at work, you just eat, you don't say a word. How long do you think that marriage lasts? The day, maybe a couple of days, whatever, but it's not sustainable. Why? Because it's a relationship where you're not expressing any gratitude and appreciation. Now, on the flip side, and I learned this as a kid, my dad taught me, so all my family members and people I met, they're like, we love Z. I'm Mr. Thank You card, Mr. Follow-up email, Mr. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And the flip side, if you express gratitude in a relationship, then you see that the person's motivated to do more. So my dad told me a story. This is not a real story, I don't think. But, you know, one of these guys driving and his car breaks down. He sees a gas station. He's like, oh, wow. I get to the gas station close enough. He gets there. He's like, sir, I ran out of gas and I don't have any money. You know, so if you could just please, just let me get you $5 worth of gas, I'd really appreciate it. So the guy starts pumping the gas. He goes, oh my gosh, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. $5 goes to $10. He's like, oh my gosh, sir, wow, you didn't have to do this. I appreciate it so much. $10 turns into a full tank. You know, the guy's like, oh my gosh, sir, let me give you a hug. Now the guy starts changing the oil. He's like, oh my gosh, sir, you're going above and beyond, you know. Now the guy starts washing his windows, car wash, and now the guy's in tears. He's just like, oh my gosh. The guy says, hey, buddy, enough. Get in the car, leave before I give you the gas station, you know? Like, and it's like an example of the power of gratitude, okay? So hopefully I didn't skip over too much, but in my journey to Yiddishkeit, it started off as seeking a deeper relationship with God that then led me to the beautiful, you know, life that I'm experiencing now, you know, and have been experiencing. I think I've been in like 6 countries since Rosh Hashanah or something like that. Never would have imagined that. Places I never dreamt of going, Ukraine, China. I never thought of going to China, you know what I mean? I was there last week. Shanghai, thank God for Chabad, to get kosher food, you know. But so that to me is like a little snapshot of my life. Okay, this week's Parsha, right? Whether anyone knows, Vayishlach, you know, like, so, you know, it's funny, I was talking to my cousin today, and she called me, she's like, all these stresses she's having. So I'm like, hey, you know, I gotta be honest with you, I'm not having those stresses, you know, like the pace of my life is different, my view on life is different based upon like a very powerful concept I think is Bitachon. You know, they say a person only created God for Simcha and Bitachon. More, you know, happiness and Bitachon, which is like, to me, faith in action. But I'm explaining to her, like she's talking about these challenges and frustrations, and I was like, wow, you know, I'm breaking down to the Torah, I'm talking to her about the Parsha, and to me, every Jew is living out the Torah every week. And so as opposed to people checking their like constellation or something like that, I think it's called or whatever, people ask, what sign are you? I'm like, I'm from over north, and I'll tell them my gang sign. I'm like, no, not that. I don't know. But anyway, for a Jew, the Torah is actually like your weekly constellation sign or whatever it's called, right? So in essence, and I've seen it true in my life, but there's other truths. So this week's Parsha, Vayishlach, one of the prevailing themes is that Yaakov eventually now bumps into Esau. And I'm sure, I wouldn't insult anyone back when I don't know who these people are, but Abraham Avinu had a son. Yitzhak had 2 sons. One of the sons is like a hairy troublemaker, and the other guy's a smooth operator, wants to learn Torah. Okay, and eventually, one brother, sells his birthright and then loses his blessing, and now they haven't been around each other for years. And so now it comes time that Yaakov's got to meet Esau. And so to me, so what is this week's horoscope? Confronting your fears, right? As in, this is this monumental moment. His whole life, he's known it's coming. At some point, it's got to come. And now, this is the day. And so in the parsha, obviously, fast forward to the end, it definitely goes well. But in his preparation to meet Esau, what does he do? He starts off with a plan and a strategy and approach. If you're going to face your fears, whatever the fears may be, growing closer to God, leaving the job, whatever the case may be, I don't know. But you go about it a certain way. But in the same too, he came to face his fears with his receipt of all the fears he had faced before, all the challenges that he overcome before. Now, why does that relate to our lives or whatever? So this week, to me, the energy is in the universe for you to face, some of your biggest fears, biggest challenges that you may have. And how do you face them? You will face them with the things that you've already overcome, right? And so I was explaining to my friends where I'm from. I definitely was born in the inner city. It's got a lot of cool names. I call it like the mud, the hood, whatever. But so in my town, because I have one eye, right, I had to constantly think of ways that I looked at life in a way that was more fitting for me. So if I got taken my eye, it made me a little less handsome. I would have been a model or something like that. Just like, I've been a great basketball player because I have depth perception. But instead, he said, no, take his eye. So also when you lose your eye, you lose half of your peripheral vision. So how does that benefit for me? I care about half less than everyone else does. All the stuff on the side, all the people that look funny, this lady looking crazy, this guy, I don't even see him. Legit, I don't see him. And I also say I'm a very dangerous driver. I just drive fast, hey, go straight. It's like a sniper. So God gave me the benefit of like tunnel vision to focus. As in everything that God gives you is for your benefit. They say there's no bad in life, you're just standing too close to it to see the good. So if you look at it in that manner, so as Yaakov is going to face his fears, he gives an accounting of some of the more monumental challenges he's faced since the last time he saw Esau and how he defeated him. So I was in Laban's house, but I still kept the mitzvahs, He had a bunch of trickery, a bunch of sorcery, but I was still able to overcome everything he tried to do to take me out. There were angels that tried to stop me, this angel I'm wrestling with. And this is another important part because in facing his fears, this portion of his life, similar to kind of like Abraham Avinu, his name changed. So it went from like, Yaakov, this trickster, to like Yisrael, right? So almost like a purification of the intentionalities of his heart. So in him choosing to face his fears, he was able to even transform his identity. And so to me, what I'm saying is, at this point in the universe right now, this week, everyone has the ability to face their fears and now transform their identity and elevate themselves in all that they do. So, the bracha should be that everyone is able to do so and see so and feel so. And we won't even get to the next week's parsha. Now what's next? Now you start reading your horoscope for 2 and 3 weeks and 4 weeks ahead, But that's just more Torah learning. So I guess the last part is, I want to say something. My dad gave me another wise saying, under promise and over deliver. So when people say I'm a rapper, I joke like, I can make great tortillas. I use boxes tightly wound with paper around them. In terms of a musical thing, Prince is my mom's first cousin. People might not know who that is. But I'm for sure not anywhere near the most talented musical person in my family, in my neighborhood, in my block. Anywhere I go, I'm the least talented guy there easily. But from every now and then, I make noise that sounds good to me. And if other people can suffer through it, then, they also may whatever. So there was two songs I think I shared on Shabbos, and I think they are, to me, indicative of my journey and God's kindness towards me. So one of them goes like this. So this song I wrote, and I was like, mind you, I came up, from the mud, chief troublemaker, okay? We didn't join gangs, we started our own, right? So I was always like, we're enterprising. So as I made a transition to a more clean, more docile, more user-friendly life, I'm sure the whole community was thrilled, but then also a little skeptical, like, what happened to this guy? What is he doing now? Now he's He's not out on Friday causing trouble. He's not out on Saturday. He's not eating over here. He's doing this, doing that. So I gave him answer via music. So it goes like this. Contrary to popular belief, I found peace. Yet and still I welcome all critiques. No regret I feel, success and still read my Jones and wheat. You know why 6 is scared of 7, man? That's because 7, 8, 9, I'm hot dog, relish the fact it's ketchup time, mustard, hold the mayo. Word to my mother, daylight come shine like Deo, ready for war times like NATO, always down the ride like Mano, always speaking life like Trado. The lesson comes fast, but the game slow. School of hard knocks, I ain't take days off like Ferris. Predestined wheels of fortune, no game show. Juris doctorate flow, case closed. Alkaline diet, y'all can miss me on them scapegoats. War of the righteous, rain fire on them gray coats. Kolakavod, Shemi Zakharia, 9 they old. Boker Tov, case you want to know. Yeah. I've been in the kitchen, wrist whipping out, you're cooking up some major flavor. Yeah. Make constant sacrifices for my life, man. I done made some major changes. The road ain't been easy, word to Damon Wayans. I done felt some major pains. But through it all we stood tall. Now me and my people about to see some major gains. This verse I like because I think it's very important. Could change the world if people listen. While some focus on deficiencies and aptitudes and inefficiencies, I choose enlightenment and epiphanies, high vibration energy, spiritual synergy, the methods of miracles, and how to manifest metaphysically, progressing continuously, reflecting tremendously, perfecting consistency, efforts, evidence, and ministry. David Kamelik has a story that really gets to me. Spent his youth outcast and dealt with dismissively. Yet he embraced it with love, exuding empathy. So when my days seem tough, I keep these thoughts in my memory. Das Vidanya. Next stop is Latanya, sipping Herzog Cabernet with the Paul lasagna. In spite of life's dramas, everything's sababa, fulfilling dreams. Achara Davrim, giving hope like Hitra O Bisma Ho. Kolakavod Shemi Zakharia, 9 may old. Erev Tov, in case you wanted to know. I've been in the kitchen, wrist whipping out, you're cooking up some major flavor. Yeah. Make constant sacrifices for my life, man. I done made some major changes. The road ain't been easy, word to Damon Wayans. I done felt some major pains. But through it all we stood tall. Now me and my people about to see some major gains. Arshante, Shalom Ani Bankole, Sakpase, Bonji Bon Patu Tame, Nabule, Donde Ace, Los Abradores, Cajate, Sola Persona que mana dígame, Todos los días a la derecha, 1, 2, 3 shot. You may make it or you may not, but you can't move forward standing in the same spot. Did you know you are the universe? Man, that's where the D-pop. Chopper, young phantom of the opera, manager of the Mashiach mentality of a mobster. I eat red snapper, I do not eat lobster. If them pants ain't brand new, then get them cautioned and make sure my suit is freshly pressed, cause it's almost Shabbos. In life I took a couple L's like llamas. But I broke the spell, no abracadabra, starting a new chapter. No surprise, I'm much wiser. Baruch Hashem for the growth. Naime old, Lila Tov, in case you wanted to know. I've been in the kitchen, wrist whipping out, you cooking up some major flavor. Yeah. Make constant sacrifices for my life, man. I done made some major changes. The road ain't been easy, word to Damon Wayans. I done felt some major pains. But through it all we stood tall. Now me and my people about to see some major gains. So that's what I just figured everybody out. So I have a friend who tells a horrible joke, right? And the joke is so bad when he's done, no one knows it's over. So it's like a little silence. Okay. There's a second song. It's actually the first song I wrote when I moved to Israel. I've been fortunate enough to be living in Israel since last November in Jerusalem. I think I have the best located living situation. Right on Yafo, block and a half to take a walk. A block this way to a Roma Cafe and to a juice bar. Jerusalem Fried Chicken, 3 stops on the train. Crave is like, I see a picture you guys went to Crave, you know. And all the places I pretty much get to eat for free are pretty close, so it's a good deal. But this is a song I wrote when I first moved to Israel. It goes like this. They say you live one life and then you die. So when you're done, where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? They say every story got 2 sides. either wrong or right. So when you're done, where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Questions needing answers. Does anybody know? Thoughts that's on my mind weigh heavy on my soul. Thought they buried me, but they didn't know that I was born to see. That's what I need to grow. All that pain and trauma helped me earn my stripes. Them dreams and nightmares that led to sleepless nights. Peace is all I wanted, so I had to fight. Surrounded by the darkness, they helped me see the light. Heaven looked down on my flaws, yet loved me in spite. Yeah, it's been a long road, but my goal's in sight. Might have had a shady past, but my future's bright. Might have had a shady past, but my future's bright. You live one life, and then you die. So when you're done, where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? They say every story got two sides, either wrong or right. So when you're done, where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Face to face with a mountain. Questions, will you climb it? Gotta look deep down for strength. The questions, will you find it? My road wasn't chosen, so I decided. I looked death in the eyes and became enlivened. Falling down many times, but I keep on rising. Got a meal, got a grain, gotta keep on grinding. My world was shook up, yeah, I'm talking seismic. Cause I traded ragged deed just to live the righteous. They say you live one life, and then you die. So when you're done, where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Does anybody know? So I appreciate you.
You liked it?
Yeah.
We're going to maybe take a picture with everybody.
Oh, you want a picture?
Everybody.
One picture.
Everybody.
Let's do it. Let's do it. One picture. Let's go, Ray. Okay?
That's it.
Let's start.
That's it.
One picture together. Alex and Yelena.
Yeah, everybody like, oh, that's it. That's it. Rabbi, that's it?